As far as you one of the father of this program, let's say like that, so probably you can say what was basically in the beginning the structure and the meaning of internships. So we have two internships in the middle of the program, and then we have to write thesis. And among students, we discussed that probably it makes sense to make long internship in the end instead of thesis, and probably it could be more useful because when you apply for a job, it's difficult to get a position without appropriate experience.
Yeah, and this is close to my heart. So this was an important part of what we wrote in the first place. We had the massive advantage, of course, of being able to launch in 2014 when we had an Olympics to offer such opportunities for, but of course that wasn't going to be sustainable. So what was most important for me, one of my areas of focus outside of marketing is also on event management and the production of legacies, in particular physical legacies. So it's great to see that Sochi is indeed leading the way in making use of its venues that it built, the education legacy that we have here, which is a one-off. It hasn't been done before. So these legacies that are in Sochi are important to continue, not just for Sochi, but for the Olympic movement, and show the way in their sustainability. What's also important for RIOU and future cohorts are the opportunities that those legacies can now produce. So your F1 legacy can have opportunities for students and so forth, bringing in a World Cup, bringing in major winter sports championships. Hopefully in the future, more organisations basing themselves here perhaps, so that there will be more opportunities for the students. And coming back to the place of internship placement into industry experiences as being part of curriculum and beyond is something that I built up in my previous role as head of the Academy of Sport at Sheffield, Hallam University, and indeed previously in other positions elsewhere, both at New York University and Northumbria University in the UK. They're fundamental, and they offer within cohorts the opportunity to, and I'll throw in a marketing word here, the differential that you have over Lalade, over Evo, that you're able to set yourselves apart for the jobs that you want. So you can offer yourself your profile with differential for employers to make their mind up about you, but you can also gain experiences with organisations to give you a variety of experiences and profile for your own interests and how you want to develop your career. So they're important on several fronts and critically important. They have to be a part of what we do. And the beauty of RIOU is and I had a similar experience at NYU in the States, whereby people knocked on our door to come and get involved with our students. And that's hard to come by. It's not something that's very poignant in the UK. Even outside of NYU, it's not that poignant elsewhere. In other sports universities in the US, at RIOU, we've got people knocking on the door. So only last week we had 3 of the most significant people in the Olympic world over the past decade, and I was fortunate enough to host a session where our students, Russian and the international program, could ask them direct questions about their experiences and their thoughts and their philosophies around the Olympic Games. And to have those 3 with us was just a phenomenal experience, but it's not uncommon. It happens on a regular basis here. These are not part of the curriculum, but they're add-on benefits and value. And you've got to be here as a student to be able to gain the benefit of those. So RIOU students have that differential themselves over doing it elsewhere.
So a part of these meetings, probably you could suggest some kind of activation of partnership with IOC, because we have 5 rings and as a part of our brand, but we don't have so many connections with IOC. I know that some people, they're coming through national Olympic committees, but for example, to get I don't say about job, to get an internship in IOC, it's really, really difficult for us.
Well, the 3 people I've just referred to, 2 of which are directly connected with the IOC. So you have Gilbert Feli, who I mean, what a job he's had over the last 20 or so years. He's one of the few people that moves from one Olympics to the other, and in a role of being director of games at the IOC, pretty significant job. So you've had him here, even though he's in a different role now, sitting at the same table as Jean-Claude, who is, you know, an iconic skier, if not, in some people's minds, the greatest skier of all time. And he's still an IOC member. So you've got people starting to come if they haven't been coming in the past. So I think that's encouraging for the future.
But let us sing the praises of the lads we love the best as Leeds go marching on.